Welcome to I Got a Guy podcast, a podcast carefully designed to introduce a wide range of very talented and highly skilled professionals ready to share their knowledge and advice with you. Please welcome the host of I Got a Guy podcast, Michael Drelicharz. Welcome to I Got a Guy podcast. I'm your host, Michael Drelicharz. Thank you so much for being with us. To our loyal subscribers, thank you for listening to us yet again this week. I'm very confident that you're getting great information from all of our guests. And this week, of course, will be no different. If you're new to I Got a Guy podcast, I encourage you to check out igotaguypodcast.com for a list of all of our past episodes and a brief synopsis of each episode so you can kind of pick and choose which episodes you want to listen to. We have a wide range of really interesting guests from all different types of industries and interests, etc. A couple of folks share their hobbies on as guests. It's really interesting. And so I encourage you to check it out and see which ones make most sense. And we do publish these podcasts on a wide range of audio platforms, but also YouTube and Rumble. So you can watch the podcast if that's easier for you or more comfortable or more your style. You can watch the podcast or listen to it either way. So appreciate you doing that. As you know, this podcast was born out of reading a book called The Go-Giver. And The Go-Giver is a great story. Bob Burg was the author. A great story about how small businesses grow through giving referrals. Many people think networking is all about getting referrals, but the reality truly is you grow your business through giving referrals. And in the process of giving referrals, you grow your business and you gain more referrals. So if you haven't read that book, I encourage you to download it, listen to it on Audible, buy the book, go to the library, what have you. Great story, 5 great stories in there that kind of really focus on that aspect. But that really was what sparked me to start this podcast. So I'm thankful to Bob Burg. I've actually reached out to him directly and thanked him for that book as well. But anyway, let's shift over to this week's guest. This week we're going to be talking a little bit more about GPS tracking, and that is my day job and something I'm really excited about doing, and I really enjoyed it. But what I wanted to focus on here at the start is the reason I'm really excited about it is because I met this gentleman about 6 years, about 6 years ago at a networking event. And we started chatting. It was actually a speed networking event. And we met at the end of the episode, or end of the meeting, and we hit it off. And he encouraged me to check out GPS tracking as a business. And I've done so, and it's changed the direction of my life and my career, and I'm really thankful. So I'd like to introduce Tom Fox, who is a VP of sales for AirIQ, which is a major GPS tracking company based in Canada. So Tom, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Michael, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. And you know, I know I've told you this before, but I really appreciate the fact that you and I connected so many years ago, and would have loved to have been connected even 10 years ago. But this is we got into a great business, and I really appreciate you encouraging me to pursue this market segment here. So it's a great business, and I love serving our customers in the way we serve them, and I love the guidance that you've been able to provide.
Yeah, I think it's not only a wonderful business, from a business point of view, but I've been doing this over 25 years, and I truly get excited in the way that we help people and we help businesses in doing what we do. So it feels great at the end of the day.
Yeah, it really does, and you know, my business, Precise Fleet Tracking, does focus primarily on the smaller businesses. And I do that partly because I really enjoy working with small businesses, but small businesses are often ignored by the bigger GPS tracking providers. And I want to help those small businesses gain an advantage and maximize their investment in these assets. Vehicles are expensive. The equipment in their vehicles are expensive. Their employees, their payroll costs, they're very, very expensive. They're a big impact on these businesses. So we can help these business owners fine tune it and maximize their profitability. It's good for everybody. The businesses, the related businesses, the suppliers to those businesses, everybody wins. And so I'm happy to be part of that, and happy to to contribute. And then in the meantime, we're going to talk about a couple stories today, but GPS tracking really does help keep drivers safer, keep the equipment safe, and it helps the business in so many ways. So I'm happy to be part of that, and I do know that at the end of the day, we're providing great service to our community and our customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say there's been, as you said, we help a lot of small businesses out. I can't tell you how many small businesses that we've seen grow through the years, thanks in part to what we do, no doubt, and the fact that we provide a management tool for them where they can actually help grow their business, and it's a way of being able to manage and scale, and that's what we bring to the table.
Yeah, and most definitely. Yeah, we started with a few small businesses that had one or two trucks, and I was actually in a meeting earlier today, and somebody asked me, you work for fleets. How big of a fleet do you want to work with? And frankly, there's no fleet too small. We have many businesses that start with one vehicle, and then it grows to two vehicles, and then it grows to four vehicles, and it just exponentially continues to grow. And but we provide the same level of service if you have one vehicle or if you have 14 vehicles or 44 vehicles. It doesn't matter. It's we provide the same level of service because every customer is really that important to us. So we really work hard to help them all grow.
Well, I do think that that's part of the magic to doing business with Precise Fleet Tracking in particular is the amount of care that is provided, the hand holding that goes into it, especially at the beginning. And you're right, you don't see that with many of the other companies out there, whether big or small, but especially the big ones. It's like the old sales joke about now you're yesterday you're a prospect, today you're a customer. There's a difference in how that relationship looks. With Precise Fleet Tracking, I can tell you that it's all the same, and every time, day or night, that you need somebody there to help you, you've been there.
Yeah, we do a lot of weekend work, evening work. I don't ignore my phone when it rings. In fact, I was just recently at a client here, not too far from my office, and they've been with us for a couple years. And he reminded me that when he was searching for GPS tracking companies, one of his criteria was local, and he called several businesses, and I was the only one that was local and was willing to come out on site, meet with them. Everyone else wanted to do everything via call center and inside salespeople. And inside sales works for a lot of businesses. I think with GPS tracking, the personalized service makes a big difference. And so we really focus on that. It's an expensive way to do it from a time perspective, from fuel, et cetera. But it's the way we build the loyalty and provide great confidence to our customers, especially when they're tackling this technology for the first time. If they have no experience with the technology, they don't know what they don't know. And so we walk them through it, hold their hand, and get them comfortable, train them in person, get them comfortable with the reports, et cetera. And they keep on going from there. So I'm really proud of how we have structured Precise Fleet Tracking and have been growing that business for 5.5 years now. But again, getting back to my opening comment, I want to thank you personally because you're the one that helped me get this whole thing started. So you were the catalyst there.
Thank you, and it's great having you as a partner. We work very well together, and certainly anything I can do always to help out any of your clients. I'm here to do the same thing you are, and that's just to provide a very high level of support to those people that are using us.
Yeah, that's great. Perfect. I appreciate that. So, it's interesting, when we have some of our conversations, some of our training sessions that you do weekly, we often talk about, GPS track, what you refer to as GPS tracking in the news. And there's been so many situations recently where we've come across stories in the news that GPS tracking has been the linchpin to cracking either a crime ring or solving an issue or or in some cases, one case in Connecticut, it proved a civilian was in the right and an off-duty police officer was in the wrong. So that was one story I wanted to touch on briefly, and it just I'm excited to see these stories because it really helps validate what we do. But you actually spoke to the business owner in Connecticut after you saw the story. You saw it online, right? The story in
Correct.
Connecticut,
Right.
um, where a driver, it's a security company, I believe.
Very specifically, I saw it on YouTube.
Oh, you saw it on
So
YouTube. Okay.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and I
I,
and I
I I
will.
do a lot of combing through and you don't have to look very deep. I'm sure everyone has seen multiple videos of either dash cam incidences with commercial vehicles involved in some kind of an incident, and they had a dash cam, or else some sort of a tracking device that's inside a vehicle that were able to result in some sort of a positive event, and that's what I search for.
Yeah. So in this particular case in Connecticut, tell us a story about how this gentleman got involved with this off-duty police officer and how it escalated. The video is it's a lengthy video, and it shows it from a couple different perspectives. Somebody put it together very well. And I will put a link in our show notes for our viewers to see. But tell us a story about that.
Sure. The what so from what's evident by the video is that a driver for a security company is approaching a red light with one car in front of him, with the intention of turning right as the car in front of him is intending to turn right as well. He sees the car come to a complete stop in front of him and then doesn't move, but he sees the driver on his cell phone, and there's no oncoming traffic from the other direction. So he toots on his horn to get the driver to move, and instead the driver exits his vehicle in a very confrontational way, confronts the driver of the security vehicle. What's interesting is that there is it's an off-duty a person that identifies himself as an off-duty police officer. It turns out it was an off-duty school resources officer, and he flashes a badge at the security vehicle, and then the security vehicle said, "Hey, let me see your badge number." And that angered the gentleman in the front vehicle to come back, and rather than give him his badge number, he gave him a knuckle sandwich and punched the driver of the security vehicle square in the face. And so it was a very unfortunate incident. I give the driver of that security van an awful lot of credit for the fact that he remained cool, calm, and collected the entire incident, knowing full well he had captured everything on video. And he called. Not only did he call the police, he referenced the fact that he had caught everything on video. Well, the interesting thing about it, and I think this goes to the power of our world and what we sell and what we do, is that the evidence speaks for itself. The video doesn't lie, and so when he mentioned that to the officers, and the officers were able to replay that, and they could see that this narrative looked like it wasn't going to be exactly an honest narrative coming out of the off-duty police officers, out of the police officer's mouth, and that changed things very quickly. Ultimately, the off-duty officer was charged with a crime, with assault,
Right.
as a result of the incident.
Well, and the interesting component that I felt when watching that is if the crime was reported without the video, there would be his one word against the other. So you have the civilian, the security company driver versus an off-duty police officer, and given those two stories, the police that were actually taking the police report, they may opt to believe the off-duty police officer before the civilian if there was no video footage. And so it could have been a mistaken story, but because the driver had that video footage, it exonerated him. And Now he gestured to the police officer. He wasn't perfect, but his story was accurate, and it was
Right.
backed up by this video footage. And that's the most important component is he was telling the truth, and he was able to use this video footage to validate that. And it's what actually that video footage is what gave the legal team the ability to press charges against that off duty police officer.
The,
And so we've seen many situations like that, but that was a really good example. Like I said, it's a lengthy video. When you watch it, it's showing police body cam as well as the footage from the video, and the whole scenario kind of plays out. But it's just a great example of how our technology helps um, keep everybody honest. Keep everybody honest, because the reality is we all make mistakes, and it's there's a it's not a he said she said. It's the proof is in the video footage.
not only though did the video footage exonerate the fellow that was driving the security vehicle, but it also convicted the other person too, because the bar is set very low in a lot of these cases where you're when you're talking about somebody that's having a physical confrontation, which by the way is most of the time fairly unusual in some of these footages that we see. Usually it's more of a vehicle accidents and things along those lines, but to have that actual physical confrontation,
Right.
very easily, the driver of the security vehicle, should he have done anything wrong at all and actually reached out and grabbed that person, spit on him, whatever, he could have been charged as well. And so that's what's so important about this is that the video completely exonerated him to the point where he did absolutely nothing wrong, and he was truly an innocent victim in this.
Sure.
And you see it now. People will often say too that hey, this is a double-edged sword because of somebody being a driver is doing something wrong. It's the pendulum can swing that other way. I will tell you that more and more that insurance companies are looking towards encouraging people to put these in their vehicles, sometimes even giving discounts by putting these type of tracking devices in vehicles for a number of different things, and more specifically cameras, as we're talking about right now, for the fact that it changes people's behavior. Knowing just there's a factor of just knowing that something's in there just to change that driver's behavior. Maybe they do things a little different. This driver was keenly aware that that dash cam was on the was installed in the vehicle, and therefore he knew to reference that immediately after this confrontation. Sometimes you can't manage what you can't measure. And one of the great things about this is that you actually have that level of detail when you put in a camera or a tracker for that matter.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's with the dash cams that Precise Fleet Tracking sells and we provide to our clients. Um, there's an artificial intelligence built in the camera. So if the driver is as they're driving down the road distracted, let's say, um, whether it be on their cell phone, texting and driving, what have you, and their eyes are off the road, the camera will notify the driver audibly that their eyes aren't on the road as it's supposed to be. So it very subtly helps the driver be safer on the road, which is why the insurance companies love these dash cams, because every time you can improve the safety, even marginally, it lowers the risk and it saves the insurance company money. And conversely,
Right.
it saves the business money because if there's one less accident per year, there's less deductibles paid. There's lower premiums paid next year when the renewal comes in. There's less a loss of productivity because that vehicle doesn't have to be repaired again. So there's a lot of benefits to those businesses for having the dash cams. Drivers often will bristle at the thought of the owner putting dash cams in the vehicle, but the reality is the benefits far outweigh the negatives. And I often tell drivers, I tell my own kids, if you're doing nothing wrong, you got nothing to worry about. So let's just, you be better because of it. And so I'm really proud of us being able to sell dash cams. And this example in Connecticut was one that I thought was really a great example of how it really helps just put all the facts on the table. Let's just deal with facts.
Right.
And
Absolutely. And two things I want to point out. That number one, these are live. This is not a passive system. This is not something that you pick up at Best Buy and have a put just an SD card in it, and you're just recording. Think about it this way: there's a chance that a person, should there be a confrontation, reaches in, rips your dash cam out, and well, there goes your dash cam footage, because that was a passive system. Ours is different. Ours is active. The information from that dash cam is captured in such a way where we capture events that occur. There's many different ways that these events are captured. And when that happens, that information is rolled up into the cloud. So even if that vehicle was involved in an accident, let's say, for example, and it was a fiery accident at that, we would be able to capture information and then send that up into the cloud, before the evidence is essentially destroyed.
Right.
So
Yeah, and the difference is with the dash cams that we provide, there is a cellular chip and a SIM card inside the dash cam, and so that is what facilitates the uploading of the video footage up to the cloud. And some of those passive systems you're referring to that you can buy retail or you can buy it online, if there is no monthly recurring fee, it's not an active system because somebody has to pay for the data. The data is an ongoing, just like your cell phone data. So that's a good way for somebody to know if it's an active or a passive system, is if there is no recurring fee, it's not an active system.
right.
Because
And
the
it's
cellular data
funny
is
because
expensive.
oftentimes when I think of people buying these passive systems, most of the time, from my experience of why they buy it, is that they'll say, well, it was cheap. There's a difference between cheap and affordable. We're looking at an extremely affordable solution for a live camera system. And again, as you pointed out, this is a two-facing AI camera system. So it recognizes artificial intelligence within that vehicle of what's going on in that vehicle. In addition to being able to see all the road facing information. And then there's sensors in that camera. In addition to the fact that we do live GPS vehicle tracking through the camera. That's unusual in a lot of cases. Not all camera systems do tracking and cameras. We have it all as an all-in-one.
Right. Very much so. So, Tom, we're going to take a quick break here to hear a quick note from our sponsor. But we'll come back and we'll continue chatting with a couple other examples we want to run through so our listeners can get a real good idea of the kind of value that GPS tracking provides. So stick with us and we'll be right back and continue with this conversation. Thank you for listening to I Got a Guy podcast. I hope you're getting a lot of knowledge from this week's guest. But now a word from our sponsor. If your business uses heavy equipment as part of its daily routine, sadly, I don't need to educate you on the reality that this equipment has been the focus of many local thieves either. Precise Fleet Tracking Solutions works with business owners that own commercial vehicles and heavy equipment. We help these business owners enhance their growth and profit through the use of GPS tracking technology. Recovering a stolen asset is just one way we contribute to the bottom line of the business. Our GPS tracking units used in heavy equipment are weather tight so they can handle the elements and even have an internal battery to continue to report its location should the battery in the asset be disconnected. We have several examples of the benefits of GPS tracking in heavy equipment. Reach out to Precise Fleet Tracking Solutions for a detailed discussion about our options and to see if it makes sense for your business. You can find Precise Fleet Tracking Solutions at precisefleettracking.com. That's precisefleettracking.com. Or call us at 847-865-6008. Precise Fleet Tracking Solutions. GPS tracking made simple. Now, back to the show. Okay, we are back. Thank you for sticking with us. I'm your host, Michael Drelicharz with I Got a Guy podcast. Our guest today is Tom Fox, who is a VP of Sales with AirIQ, which actually is the company that Precise Fleet Tracking, my company, purchases GPS tracking units from. And Tom provides tremendous support and coaching and guidance along the way, which allows me to provide more service to my clients and more knowledge each and every day. So, Tom, welcome to the show again. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, Michael.
So we were talking before the break about an example in Connecticut where a dash cam provided some really good information and helped exonerate a driver that would have ordinarily been wrongly accused of causing an incident. But there's a number of other cases that have come up in the news recently. One was a situation here in Chicago where GPS tracking was installed in a vehicle, and the owner of the vehicle was sharp enough to actually install a decoy GPS tracking unit. And so and there are ways that sometimes these criminals will scan a vehicle, and they'll find that they'll see that there's a GPS signal in the vehicle. Well, in this particular case, this criminal found this decoy GPS tracking unit, thought it was the real one, ripped it out of the vehicle, and stole this vehicle. And so what ended up happening was the owner of the vehicle was able to track his vehicle right back to this warehouse, and the police went there, and I think what actually happened was they went there and he hit the remote start, and he heard his vehicle start behind the door, and the police had probable cause to enter. And not only did he find his vehicle, but he found a lot of other stolen equipment. So they cracked a crime ring because one driver was smart enough not only to put GPS tracking in the unit, but he put a decoy unit in there. So the criminal thought he got rid of the GPS tracking unit and was safe, and he wasn't.
That's right. It was about $500,000 of equipment that was recovered that day from, I believe, 4 different companies, and they could all thank that one person that was intelligent enough to put some tracking in one of his vehicles. So that did crack that crime ring. It's and just as you had said too, and who knows, maybe the other ones did have GPS tracking, but the users, I'm sorry, the thieves were successfully able to remove those. I don't know what the case is there, but it's interesting that they actually searched for it. They found what they thought was the tracker. As you had mentioned, it's a decoy. Now here's the interesting thing when using a decoy. Decoys are available. It is something where when a decoy is cut out of the vehicle, oftentimes what someone will do is they will connect the decoy device to the input wire of a real device. What that will do is send a signal to the owner saying that vehicle is being stolen. Yeah. And so it's and I believe that that's exactly what happened in this case, is that he saw that whoops, wait a second, there's the decoy wire was cut, therefore somebody's in the process of stealing your vehicle. Time to start taking action, and this person in this case successfully did.
Yeah, and I have a client that is in a neighborhood where it's a challenging neighborhood. He anticipates his vehicles will be stolen. And we actually installed 2 tracking units in each vehicle, a dash cam on the windshield and a tracking unit under the dashboard. So he anticipates, and we haven't had any vehicles stolen yet, but he's anticipating the vehicle being stolen. And the first thing the criminal will do is take the dash cam off the windshield, throw it out the window, assuming that they're in the clear, and not knowing that there's another tracking unit under the dashboard. So it's very forward-looking business owner that is aware of the situation that he's in and has to protect his assets. So theft of these vehicles, carjackings, etc., are really hitting unprecedented levels across the country, and it's not just in Chicago, but across the country. And so we have ways to help these business owners and even personal owners. It doesn't have to be a business to put a tracking in a vehicle. We can put it in a personal car, in a family's fleet of you can have 3 or 4 vehicles in a family, and we can put tracking in any of those vehicles. So it's really an interesting scenario and a way to protect those assets. And I had another situation with a client that we actually protect their lawnmowers, and they have a large quantity of lawnmowers. And we had just started. It's really a fascinating story because, and very fortuitous for us. We signed a contract last December started installing these trackers in December. The mowers weren't being used in December, so it was perfect time to do that. We started installing them, and we had most of them installed by Christmas. So on January 3rd, I got a text message at 7:08 a.m. from the contact saying, "Hey, we had two of our mowers were stolen last night. One of them happened to have your tracker in it. Can you help us locate it?" I located the unit, and within 10 minutes, we were able to identify where the units were. The police were on site, and they recovered two of these John Deere mowers. Now, if these mowers were beat up, they're older units, they were very well used. But if the business had to replace those two John Deere mowers, those two models would have cost them about $72,000. But we were able to recover those two units from them because GPS tracking was in one of them. And now they're able to use that $72,000 to enhance their business as opposed to replacing stolen equipment. And so and that was before they got their first bill from Precise Fleet Tracking. We're able to save them a substantial amount of money.
I'll bring up one other thing along this story that I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that $72,000 that you had saved them equals about 70% of their annual budget to replacing new equipment, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Somewhere thereabouts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was.
Yeah.
They would have blown out their budget by January 1st had this incident not gone in the right direction.
Right, exactly. So it's definitely and for there's some small businesses where, if you have to replace that expensive piece of equipment, it could really be a major impact. There was another story. It was in Southern California where a plumbing company had his truck stolen, and his Ring doorbell on his house showed the theft of the vehicle out of his driveway, but he did not have GPS tracking in his vehicle. By the time they found the truck, by the time the police found the truck, it was already stripped and he had $30,000 worth of tools and equipment stolen out of the back of his truck. And I on the video clip, he was devastated because he's a small business owner. He doesn't have the extra money to go out and buy more equipment. So, I mean, he said he's going to rebuild. He's going to, build back his stash of tools and equipment and continue going. But it's a major impact to that business. And so, if he would have had GPS tracking in there, he may have been able to track the vehicle more quickly before that equipment was stolen. And so that's the message I wanted to share on that story. GPS tracking could save especially these small businesses that are on a shoestring.
I've actually had a positive result of one of those in the past, where a plumber was actually watching. He was working in I believe it was a high-rise building, and he saw out the window somebody breaking into his vehicle while he was in the floor of a multi-floor building, and couldn't get down there quick enough. Lucky for him, he had tracking and was able to call the police, successfully able to locate the vehicle, and they did get his tools back in time. And I believe it was about $60,000 worth of tools inside. And as he had mentioned, that was his livelihood.
Right. Yeah, that is a really important component because, and especially in the case of a small business where you only have a couple trucks, you may have the tools that help you make a living in that truck, and if they get stolen, it's a struggle. Not only do you lose days of productivity trying to replace those tools, the money you have to spend to replace those tools, the loss of jobs that you should have been doing that day instead of replacing your tool. I mean, it just compounds, and it's really significant. So we really strongly encourage any business that has a vehicle with a logo on the side of the vehicle should have tracking inside the vehicle. And oftentimes we talk to business owners that say, "Well, it's only me. I'm the only one that drives my truck. I'm not worried about where I'm driving it." And it's not about where you're driving the truck. It's not about Big Brother watching. It's if something happens that is out of your control, what do you do? Right. So it's really an important component, and so we really do encourage every commercial vehicle to track their vehicles.
Another interesting one that happened. I mean, you had mentioned logos on the side of a vehicle. I'll tell you one where they didn't have logos on the side of the vehicle, which I thought was quite interesting. It was a big box truck that was owned by a company that does the rentals of these giant LCD screens for theaters.
Sure.
And this happens to be a Chicago story. This is going back about 8 years now, I think 7, 8 years. And a truck that was unloading in the back of a theater in downtown Chicago, and while the occupants of the vehicle were inside doing something, the somebody had actually stolen the vehicle with those giant screens inside it.
Oh my.
And again, thanks to GPS tracking, they were able to recover it. And that was over $200,000 worth of these giant LCD screens. I don't know what somebody would have necessarily done with them, but sometimes there was another incident. And I don't remember this too in the news in Chicago. Someone stolen, I believe it was a bobcat or a backhoe, and they drove right in through a bank with it. Did you see that incident
Yep.
too?
I don't remember that one specifically.
Yeah, that was another one too. And a lot of times it's getting to these incidences before they become incidences that becomes important. So it's one thing to recover your eventually recover your equipment, which sometimes things do pop up again. But again, when you have tools or any kind of equipment inside that's of value, it's important that speed is the key to this, and getting that equipment back expeditiously is going to save you a lot of money.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, a lot of times we hear people talk about how their insurance company provides them a tracker that they can plug in their vehicle, and it comes up so regularly, so frequently.
Yeah.
The thought is, well, my insurance company's allowing me to plug this tracker in my vehicle. It's going to save me money in my insurance. But there was an article. The reality is, it doesn't oftentimes it does not save you money, because now with the tracker plugged in, that the insurance company has access to all the data. They know how you drive, how fast you drive, when you drive, what time of day, how many miles you drive. And in most cases, it actually increases your insurance bill. And then the insurance company has all this data on you.
And by the way, I'll throw a caveat on there and say, eventually increases your insurance bill.
Sure.
They may go under the guise of, hey, you'll save a little bit now, but with the understanding that everything is being scrutinized, analyzed, and for many different purposes. So let me explain a couple things. There's the big difference between what we do, which is a self-managed product. I will make this very clear that AirIQ and Precise Fleet Tracking do not sell. We're not in the business of selling data. We don't sell data, and we don't sell your data to anyone else. Therefore, everything that you see, that you experience with this product is to you and you only. You, the manager or the owner of the company. The difference is with an insurance company, they have that back end access. And how does that affect you? In more than one way. It's not just you weren't doing things the right way. You could have, your driver could be going the right speed. It could be going the, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a lot of different mechanisms to this. What area do they drive in? How often are they on the road? How long are they there? There are a lot of things to this. And when you look at how an insurance company manages, excuse me, how an insurance company manages risk based upon the number of hours, the number of miles driven, and the areas that somebody goes to, they can clearly, adjust your policy to where they feel it needs to be based upon those mechanisms. Again, with us, it's more about the idea of management. It's the management tool. It's the security tool. We're not. This is not something that we're feeding to anyone else to be able to bat you on the head with it later.
Right. Well, and to that point, you made a real good point there about how Precise Fleet Tracking and AirIQ don't sell you the customer's data. Some GPS tracking companies do sell the data. We specifically
that is
do
true.
not.
That's
so
true. That's a big business out there, and even some of the largest, the very largest GPS tracking companies do sell the data. Now, I don't want to say like, hey, they're naming people as they're doing it. It's the anonymous data. It's the idea that they're actually taking your data and then reselling that. And yes, we don't in no way, even as a bulk and even anonymously, we don't do that.
Right, right. The data is private, it's segregated, it's secured, and only the owner of the business or anyone that the owner grants access to has access to see that data. But it really is used for management of the business as opposed to anything else. So
Right.
that's just an important component. Um, One other story I wanted to share was an article I had seen that came up in Nashville, Tennessee. So there was a theft of a vehicle, and the vehicle had GPS tracking in it. So the police were able to identify the vehicle, and they actually the owner of the vehicle notified the police that his vehicle was stolen and the GPS tracking. He told the police where the vehicle was, and they were able to track it via helicopter. And when they tracked the vehicle down to where it was parked, and the police arrived, and they swarmed this particular car, and the criminal said, "Well, you're acting like I stole a Mercedes Benz or something." And because he said that at the time, it was in the heat of the moment, the police caught that admission on their body camera, and they used that against him, and they charged him with theft of a vehicle because it was an admission that he stole something. It wasn't a Mercedes, but he stole something. And
Right.
and it was only because the GPS tracking was in that vehicle, and the owner notified the police, and they were able to track it live when the criminal was driving down the road to capture that vehicle, and and it was a 19-year-old that got caught stealing that vehicle. So GPS tracking has helped in so many ways, and that's why as I started the show, Tom, um, that's why I'm so proud of the business that I'm in. I love this business because we're able to do good for the right people. And I hate all the crime that's going on in our communities, and I always wanted to be part of the solution. And I feel that with our GPS tracking, that we are part of the solution. We're helping we're helping individuals and business owners regain the property that's rightfully theirs, and helping these small businesses enhance their business and grow it, and do the right thing. So it just works together really well.
Yeah, it's and that's exactly it. Is that we're out here to really help businesses and give them a little bit of a boost because and the other thing too, just as a business grows, as they if they have their own vehicle, they think, hey, why do I need to track myself? Well, by some of the examples that we gave, there is a good reason that you would be tracked. It's not necessarily tracking yourself, it's also tracking your assets. And let me just make one other point too. Even when somebody's tracking themselves or tracking just a couple of employees, these type of tools help with customer satisfaction. It ends the argument. And I'll give you a perfect example of something that's happened along those lines. I had a landscape company that I use that would do the cut the grass over at my house, and I travel quite a bit with for business. And so as a result, one time I was out of town, I came I came back and I noticed that the grass was about 8 inches high, and I said, the guys didn't show up this week. So right away, I called the owner of the company and I said, hey, my grass is really high. I think your guys, missed the clipping this week. And he said, I'm sorry. He says, I'll take that immediately off your bill. I said, now, wait a second here. I said, I'm not looking to take advantage of you here. If your guys were here, maybe it rained a lot while I was out of town. Maybe it was just, unprecedented. The grass happened to grow as high as it did. I want to make sure you get paid. I said, but I said, how, I said, but how, how do you know that the guys were there or not there? And he says, I really don't. And I said, am I the only person that's ever called and said anything about this? He goes, no, it happens all the time. I said, how'd you like to be able to know for sure whether your guys were there and how much time was spent at that property? And as a result, you'd be able to, have GPS tracking. Well, in any event, he had about, I think it was 13, 14 vehicles. He ended up equipping them all with GPS tracking. from us at the time, and it changed his business as well. Now, I'll tell you what, from a, a satisfaction standpoint, I feel much in being able to have somebody tell me, truthfully, whether or not that they were there and say, sir, we were there. Here's the, here. In fact, we were there for an hour and a half with 4 guys and, and this and that. I'd rather just know what the truth is. I'm not looking to take advantage of somebody here. I think most people feel the same way. And again, so when you talk about customer satisfaction, that plays into a big role in this as well. The other thing too is that, I'm sorry.
Well, let me just jump in on that topic, because
Sure.
I refer to it as proof of service, because I have a client that is in the pest control business, and that's a situation, and fertilizing is similar, but the pest control business, when they apply their chemicals, it's liquid, and so they may come to your house and spray the perimeter of your house with pest control, and by the time you come home from work, it's dried. You get a bill in the mail that, hey, we treated your house for pests, but you have no visible way to prove that they were there. So our client does use GPS tracking for proof that they're on site, and they market their business by saying that they expect their technicians to spend 20 minutes on site every time they make a stop, looking for ways that they can help their clients, protect their home from pests, whether it be rodents, ants, spiders, what have you. And so then when a customer calls, they don't have to give up profit, because in some cases, it's if you don't have GPS tracking, you're just giving away profit. And this way, they're able to provide proof, and then their customers have the confidence that knows that, all right, at least I know that my business is watching over my account, and I'm not getting cheated. So it helps that customer be confident in that business, and that business be confident that they're not giving away profits just to satisfy a concern. So it helps the business be more profitable by a long shot.
And I think too, if I were to choose, I mean, knowing whether somebody had tracking or didn't have tracking, I think in a way too that someone that's made an investment in their business in that way, it gives me a little boost of confidence in that business as well, because again, I know, right, that they care about their business, and they care about, that somebody else is just, I almost feel in a way somebody is there just other than that one technician or that driver. And that somebody else has access to this. They're not. It's not just somebody showing up at my house.
Right. Yeah, we have another client that's actually in the recycling business out on the west edge of Illinois, near Iowa, and they go to individual homes and they pick up the recycling bin and empty it in a truck. And they have dash cams on each of their trucks, and they've had a couple situations where a homeowner will say, "Hey, your truck knocked down my mailbox," and they'll come by and they'll look at the video footage and they'll say, "Well, no, your mailbox was laying on the ground before we pulled up," because they have the footage of them driving up and the mailbox is laying on the ground. And maybe it was another garbage truck because they multiple pickups. Sometimes it happens in the wintertime where a snowplow will knock over a mailbox. But he said that they've been accused of doing this a number of times, and they use their video footage to prove that they were in the right and they didn't make that mistake. So,
and where that happens a lot too is with towing companies. I've seen multiple times where towing companies have either damaged vehicles or again been accused of damaging vehicles, and at least this gives someone the pathway to make that determination of what happened. Yep. And the other thing too, from a positive note with towing companies, one of the things is that you can actually see the condition of a vehicle that if it let's say somebody's towing cars out of a lot, you could see the time, the date, the condition that vehicle was in. These products, especially cameras, really tell the story about what happened. So again, if there's a beef later, and I know it's a very uncomfortable thing when somebody's had their vehicle towed. I've had it happen multiple times because I, like you, I'm here in Chicago. Uh, but when you have to go retrieve your vehicle, there's a lot of he said, she said that goes on, and you feel
Absolutely.
that as a matter of fact, I was the focus of a story in Florida where my vehicle was illegally towed by a company, and of course they didn't have any kind of evidence to back it up. The good thing is that they already were under the police radar, and the police were investigating the tow company, so I was able to retrieve my vehicle, although damaged. For the ones that are in the right, the ones that are serious players here and they expect to stay in business for a long period of time, this says a lot about it. And I know you have personally have experience in dealing with towing as well.
Yeah, definitely. And one of our towing companies here locally, they've actually added an auxiliary camera on the flatbed of their tow truck. So when that bed goes up and it lowers down, so they pull a car up on the flatbed, they see the whole thing. They see what the driver's hooking it up to. They see the license plate of the vehicle, the condition of the front end of the vehicle, and they see as much as they can. So they know that the driver's doing the right thing and hooking it up correctly and bringing it up on the flatbed in a safe manner, securing it down properly. And it just helps eliminate some of those questions. And it proves the worth that the owner feels about their business and the value they feel in their business and how they want to grow their business. So, those kind of businesses grow by doing a good job for a lot of people and in a fair manner. And so GPS tracking helps those businesses deliver it that fairness and the quality service and prove that they're doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking another thing too is that I had what one of my favorite stories behind this was a company that was based out of Indiana, the Fort Wayne area, big trucking company, and I loved their attitude towards putting they were just putting tracking into all their vehicles for the first time, and you had some of and it was a larger fleet. It was over 500 vehicles. Some of the managers there were against it at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and the big boss came out and he said, "Listen," he said, "we're too big to be hiding in the shadows." He said, "If everybody's doing the right thing," he said, there's nothing to worry about." But he goes, "We're not." He said, "We're not here to beat the guy over the head all the time, with the stick." He says, "We also want to give the driver a carrot." So what they did was they incentivized their drivers for good driving, and they gave each one of them a $1,500 a year Christmas bonus by putting in tracking. Now, it was interesting how they did this and how it was paid for, because they limited the number of speed violations a driver could have, harsh braking events, things along those lines. And there's many different metrics, that these products can measure. And then at the end of the year, every year they would square up with that driver, and depending on how many, not getting the demerit points, you would get that $1,500 bonus at the end of the year. And they said that $1,500 bonus was a small amount compared to the amount that they would end up paying should guys be doing the wrong thing. So, in money that they were previously paying out in accidents. So the actual bonus paid for itself just by changing the behavior of people, and in a very positive way, because now it incentivized guys to do things the right way. And it's funny because after they'd been using the product for a year, the big boss came up to me. He says, "Chase," he goes, "It was funny." He goes, "We saw a guy. They also limited idle time that somebody could have. They saw a guy circling in the yard, and he goes, what's that guy doing?" And he said, "Well, he didn't want to stop and idle." He said, "Tell that bird to land." And it was just because, again, people are just become so consciously aware, and it's a way of doing business. But there are other ways to address this. It's not just about beating up employees. This is also again, it favors the company, but there's a lot of ways that it can favor the employee too.
Sure, sure. That's a great story. A great set of stories, Tom. Thank you so much for that. Um, but yeah, GPS tracking has provided so many benefits in so many different ways. And again, I'm proud to be in this business and be serving so many awesome customers. And I love to keep continue serving you even more. So if you know if any of you listening either work for a business that has commercial vehicles or you own the business that has commercial vehicles, we would love to have a conversation with you and see if we can help you. Maybe you're using GPS tracking today, and we can add more value to what you're doing today. And many of our clients that we work with already have tracking, and they switch over to our tracking because we're able to offer more value for fewer dollars. So we save them some money, and we add more value because of the level of service we provide. But those businesses that already have GPS tracking have bought into the concept. They understand the value of GPS tracking. Now it's a matter of fine tuning it and tweaking it, and Precise Fleet Tracking can help you do that. So if you happen to want to investigate our services and how we might be able to help you, I encourage you to check out Precise Fleet Tracking Solutions. And our website is precisefleettracking.com. That's precisefleettracking.com. Or call us at 847-865-6008. 847-865-6008. And on our website, you can reach out to us via our contact page. You can phone us there. You can, and then look at all the information about our business and about the types of services that we offer, and also view our podcast episodes. So a lot of great information on our website. It's always evolving and changing and adding more information. So, Tom, any closing thoughts for you at this point, or we're going to wrap the show up here today?
Yeah, well, just two real very quickly. One that please call for a free no obligation consultation, and that's one of the great things that Michael will do. We'll walk you through. This isn't like it's like a shoe store, I guess, where one size doesn't fit all. So we have different types of products for different needs. So just to point out that if you have any type of a mobile asset or any kind of an asset that you feel can move, we probably have a solution that will work for you, and it's and we're gonna help get you there. We're gonna get you the right type of device and the right type of service based upon your needs.
Yeah, a good point we didn't focus on, because there is a wide range of devices for a wide range of assets. And if you're concerned about a theft of any particular asset, if it's got enough value, it makes sense to put tracking on that. And we track a lot of different things, and certainly help you with that. So love to have that conversation. Awesome. Well, again, Tom, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for everything you've done to help me start and grow this business. I'm forever indebted. So I really do appreciate that. And to our loyal listeners, thank you so much for listening. I encourage you to share this with your friends, your relatives, your neighbors. If you know anyone that owns commercial vehicles or has youthful drivers and you want to monitor their driving, we certainly can help. So I encourage you to share this link, share the video link, the audio link to whomever you can. And that's how we all grow. And so until next week, thank you so much. Make it a great week. Talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to I Got a Guy podcast. For past podcasts and more information, go to igotaguypodcast.com. That's igotaguypodcast.com. Please share this podcast on your social media feeds and tune in again next week to I Got a Guy podcast.